What's going on, guys? This is your boy No Deflection, and welcome back to another episode of Bless Unleashed walkthroughs. Today we're going to be walking through Entropic Descent, the Nightspire. So this is going to be a very tough dungeon for a lot of people. There's a lot of little minute details you got to be paying attention to, and I'm sorry if this video goes on a little longer than normal. There's a lot of mobs in here that you don't want to just bypass. Some you do, and some you're going to want to take your time pulling, and we're going to try to show all those small little details in this dungeon walkthrough. So right now I'm running with the awesome boys, Puff players, the guild I'm included in here. We have a bunch of great guys running with us today, and they're going to show us the way through, basically. So we're running this with 4 range characters and myself as a melee. This dungeon is a lot harder with melees. I would suggest having no more than 3, if anything. As you're going to see, it's not an easy dungeon for melee characters. It's much easier for ranged characters. So first things first, you're going to start going through some of these mobs earlier on. You're going to pull that demon out of the left side once you walk up to him. You take all these guys out. Now note the next group. This is why ranged characters are great in this. You're going to want to pull these guys with a ranged character. All the little minions is here. In the far back, you see those little black circles, the little eyeballs. So those are basically like grenades. They're going to come up to a group of guys. They're going to explode and do an area damage attack, which do crazy amounts of damage, which will probably... I've seen this wipe people extremely quickly. It'll just come up. 2 of them will blow. It'll wipe you guys that fast. So my suggestion is have one guy just aggro them all. Have that guy roll around, dodge whatever it takes. Take it away from them, let them blow up somewhere else. Just stay away from them when they come. So right now we're going to keep pulling the smaller guys and the demon. And then... we'll have one of the ranged characters pull those eyeballs in a second. Alright, once those guys are out of the way, someone's going to pull the eyeballs. As you're going to see here, we're going to let one of the rangers go up and grab them. And like you see there, you're just going to go pull them. And everyone's going to basically back away from them. And they'll run to almost anyone, basically, so just be wary of that. But usually they'll run after one person. Once they're going to blow, as you can see there, that one eyeball did half my HP. So 2 of those guys will definitely kill you. So now we're on to our first mini-boss we have here. Basically, one of the regular demons you've seen around all the regions. Basically, this is going to be your first little damage check. Pretty simple. Just wait for it to pop. Use your Earthbreakers or whatever you guys have to do damage on this guy. He's not crazy. I mean, you could probably do this without even using your special attacks. Valhalla is not. He's not that bad. So just attack him and take his butt down before the first dungeon boss. And there you go, here's a little damage check. As you can see, I'm not going crazy with anything here, and the archers aren't using anything amazing either. They're taking their time. So there should be, I think, 2 damage checks, one at roughly 70%, and then one at around 30 or 35. So our first dungeon boss we have here is going to be Malignance. So Malignance is basically what we just fought. It's pretty funny, these dungeons, they almost give you basically like a little preemptive enemy before you actually go against the boss itself to show you kind of the mechanics, which is actually, in my opinion, the devs did a really good job with this dungeon, kind of laying it out like that. It makes a lot more sense. It's actually a really well thought out dungeon. Probably the most, I don't want to say specific, but the most well thought out dungeon to say the least. So the first guy we have here is Malignance. He only has a couple attacks that are really going to scare you. First things first, he can knock you off the edge of the circle in front of you. He can also drop rocks, similar to the Stone Weaver in the Chieftain's throne room. So basically, he'll just jump around, he'll drop rocks from the sky. They come down much faster, in my opinion, than the Chieftain's throne room, so just be wary of that. And also, the last thing of his is going to be a button mash sequence, which we're going to explain once we get into it. Basically, you don't want to blow through the button mash sequence. You want to actually hold off and take your time, because what he's going to do is he's going to send out 5 to 6 attacks during that button mash sequence, and while you are entombed in stone, that actually defends you from that attack. So when that pops up, we'll talk a little more about it. So in general with this guy, just take your time, or not take your time, but just DPS him down, work him down. He'll eventually hit his button mash sequence, and that's what we're going to talk about. There's his first rockfall. As you can see, it comes down much quicker. It's not hard to dodge, in my opinion. So here's our first entombment. So basically what you want to do is you want to get the button mash right up to the very end. Take your time with it. You don't need to hit all the buttons like that. Once you get near the end, just tap once or twice. Get it to right to the last second to where all you need to do is hit one more button to sequence it. Wait for the 5 blasts or 6 blasts from him come. Once they pass, as soon as that last one passes, hit the button to make sure you pass the button mashing sequence. If you fail the button mashing sequence, you're going to get lit up, so just be wary of that. Okay, here's our second button mash sequence. Same thing, just button mash all the way to the very end. Just wait for him to do his pops. So you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then you button mash the rest of it to get a success. It's that easy, guys. This guy's probably one of the easiest bosses we've ever fought. You don't necessarily need to have a ranged character for this one. This one you could definitely do with melees. It's very, very easy. Just be wary of the rocks falling, and then that button mash sequence, just hold off till the very end to success it. So that's Malignance in a nutshell, guys. So here we'll move on to the next one once this guy goes down. And there you guys have it. That's Malignance down and out. So now we're going to move on to our second group of mobs. So in this area, you can actually have just one character jump down into this little spot, aggro everybody, and let the eyeballs explode, and then jump down and take care of these small mobs. So we have one guy jump down. He'll aggro all the eyeballs and stuff, make them explode, and then we'll jump down and take care of the smaller mobs. Okay, so now here's your second mini-boss that gives you a little precursor to the second boss itself. So what this guy is going to do, Baglook, is going to basically do the same exact thing that the next boss does, so Sanguine and Sunu. So what you're going to do is he's going to be attacked, obviously. He'll do this where he's going to erupt spots around him in sequence. So he'll either do the dark and purple or the clear, or the clear and the dark and purple. So basically he's going to drop spires that come up out of the ground in one of those sections. You want to obviously be in the section that doesn't have the spires pop. So let's say it pops up in the darkened section. That means the next time he pops it, it will be in the light section. And back and forth, basically. You're just going to be running back and forth in between those two sections until you kill this guy. Now, Sanguine and Sunu, the actual second boss, is going to be slightly different, which we'll talk about once we get in there. So once you guys beat this guy down, we'll move right into the second boss. So here he comes again. He's going to do the same exact thing where he puts it up in a special spot. So he's going to go, see right there, he did it in the light section. Now he should do it in the darkened section, which I jumped right back into. So basically, just want to keep alternating where you're going to be standing, and then just keep DPSing him down, and that's the second mini-boss out of the way. And there you have it. That is the second mini-boss out of the way. As you can tell, if you get stuck in the alternating sequence in the wrong way, it can do some crazy damage on you. It's almost impossible to get up once he does hit you. So just be very wary of that. And I should mention, for this dungeon in particular, I highly suggest Panacea of Wellness, as you see me popping here. This will become extremely handy in the last boss fight. I will explain why once we get there. Alright, now we're going to get ready for the second boss after we beat this little, the blobby guy here. So the blobby guy, you can actually just beat on him a little bit if you need some rage or get some mana crystals, whatever you guys need. There's nothing specific about him. When you attack him, he splits up into multiple pieces, other smaller blobs, and then eventually he dies. You do need to attack him to open up the gate, though. You need to get him to explode into this is what you see here, his next phase. And then what happens is eventually that gate will open up once you guys do so much damage. Alright, so those guys are gone. You just jump right into the next little boss arena. You don't need to keep attacking these guys like I am here. There's no need for that. Okay, so now we're on to our second boss, which is Sanguine and Sunu. So basically you have Sanguine here in the middle. He's going to eventually split into two, and the other guy's name is Sunu. So what you have here is the exact same, basically the exact same guy as we just fought that did the alternating attacks at the ground. This guy, though, is slightly different. What he's going to do is he's going to always attack and bring up spires in the darkened area. As you see us fighting him, you're going to notice that when he does his ground attack, the lightened area where there's no purple, or roughly, only a light version of the purple, is where he will not attack. That's the spot you want to be in. So you're going to see here shortly how he does that. Oh, and just so you know, when he does his split, the outside guy is more or less going to be the guy you're going to be attacking for the most part until a certain point of damage is done, and then it'll go back to the center guy as you see. So once he goes back center, you can keep DPSing him, but you're going to see both characters. You're not always going to be able to damage both characters. You're only going to be able to damage one or two, or only one of them actually. So just be wary of that. You're going to have to focus on the outside guy at certain points and focus on the inside guy at other points. So like I said there, you want to be in the lightened area. So right now I'm in the lightened area, didn't get attacked. So with these guys, always stay in the lightened area and you will not be hit. So right there, same thing. Nothing happened. So that's the basic gist of Sanguine and Sunu. When Sunu's out and about on the outside doing his thing, you want to attack him. If you see you're not doing any damage to him, you want to go back to the center guy. Normally, though, what will happen is when they do split and he's on the outside, he will be able to take damage. And then once he comes back and they rejoin, then you'll be able to hit the guy in the middle. We're not exactly sure yet if this is the only way to kill these guys. I mean, our quickest run through on this has been 4.5 minutes, which still seems a little long. But regardless, this is how we've been doing it. This is how we've been beating it. So this is what we're going to be doing. So that's the gist of Sanguine and Sunu. Pretty easy. Like I said, stand in the lightened area, never the darkened area. And that's how you beat this guy down. Once he's down, we'll move on to the third and last mob area, and then the final boss. One thing I do want to mention that is if they start going purple, they will alternate similarly to the second mini boss, where you need to alternate in which spot you're in. It's just a guess on which spot they're correct in first, so just be very wary of that purpleness. So that's Sanguine and Sunu, down and out as well. And now on to the last phase, which is the third mob area. Now, be very careful in this last mob area. These guys will do crazy damage to you. Not only that, they're going to give you a precursor of what is to come from the final boss with the charm effect. So what they can do is they can basically charm you, they could stun you, and then they'll turn you to PvP, which basically allows your teammates to accidentally kill you, which I've seen people drop meteors on their teammates by accident in here because they didn't know their teammate was charmed. They go to drop a meteor on the enemy, their target moves, and it happens to land on their buddy, and then it kills them instantly. So just be very wary of that. The guys you see here and behind that little barricade, they can charm you as you're running through. So what you want to do is pull every single mob outside of that barrier one by one. Take your time pulling these mobs, even if it's just a dog, or if it's one of these succubuses, whatever it takes, just pull one at a time to make your lives that much easier. Obviously, you want to stay away from the poison mist cloud that's coming out from the succubuses. That's what's going to charm you, and that's what's going to stun you and cause some damage. All right, so once you kill all these mobs and you're about to go into your third and final boss, there is a special way to pop this last fire. As you can see right here on the screen, it's not there. The only way to pop this fire is actually to open the gate in between right here. So we have one guy stand on one side and another guy stand on the other side. And what will happen is we'll actually lift this gate up, allowing the last pyre to spawn. So as you can see, the gate's going up there. You run through it. It doesn't matter. You go around. That's what makes that fire spawn. I know a lot of people are having trouble with that. So have one guy on one side of the gate, the other guy on the other. There'll be a prompt. Hit that prompt, you're good to go. Last but not least, here is our best and final boss. It's going to be Kernixia, the Capricious. She is going to be a pain in the butt for people, especially if you're not familiar with her mechanics. She is extremely tough. So just a forewarning, so my suggestion for this final boss is you're going to want to use a Panacea Wellness for the extra HP. You're also going to want to have, if you do have some PvP defense stuff, like I would suggest equipping maybe one piece of it. We have nothing on right now with any of our teammates. We're running this without any PvP defense whatsoever. So just throwing that out there. All right, guys, so now that we have a marker set to our left, this is what we're going to use to when sisters pop. So in my opinion, that's the best spot to do the sisters phase, only because the sisters do not spawn in that specific spot. It's probably why it's there. So we have our marker to the left, the blue square. We have all of our guys back in. We're going to jump right into it. So Kernixia. There's only a couple of attacks from her that really you need to worry about. First things first, for melees, she's kind of a pain in the butt. That whip attack you just saw, If she hits you with that, she'll turn you into PvP, and she'll stun you at the same time. So you want to avoid that whip at all costs as a melee. It's not hard to dodge, but if she does hit you with it, and she can hit you with it multiple times in succession, just be very wary. It can just be, it can ruin this dungeon run, only because you're going to be stunned the whole time, basically. So avoid that. She also has the spin attack, which she'll do across the area, and she's going to hit multiple people. Just if she's coming after you, try not to pull them into your own teammates. So this is where she's going to pull everybody in, and then she's going to do a button prompt. Even if you do this button prompt almost perfectly, if it's not extremely quick, she'll still hit you with this attack. As you can see here, I did a success, and it still hit me, even after the fact. And that attack does a bunch of damage. I only lived through that. It did nothing on me only because I had a shield on, I think, or it just glitched out. But if you do not do that button prompt as quickly as possible and get away as fast as possible, it does some crazy damage. So you want to be very wary of that attack. So right here, she made everybody PvP with her knockback. And as you can see, the sisters that spawn. You want to go over in this corner now, and your guys are going to want to PvP each other. Now, my suggestion is have one person, either a Berserker or an Archer with rain of arrows, or a Mage with Meteor everybody in this spot. Then once they're all done and their PvP marks are gone, they can back out and like stand in between the sisters and then PvP you to get the mark off you. We're not necessarily sure if it's based off damage or actual attacks landed, but regardless, this is the tried and true way we've been doing it. We've done this dungeon probably 12 times now, our fastest run being just over 25 minutes. So it's gone pretty well. Just a heads up for anybody who's doing this dungeon. If you don't bring potions with you for this dungeon, don't even try to run this dungeon. You will not make it through. Potions are needed regardless of who you are. Unless you're running, 5 priests and 3 storm chasers and 2 orb healers, you're going to need potions for this dungeon. So if you're not running with potions, then don't even try this dungeon, in my opinion. I might even say you should at least have 2 to 3 scrolls on you for those revives that you might need, or at least save your starseed revives for this specific dungeon. So that's Kernixia in a nutshell. So avoid her whip at all costs so it doesn't send you into a stun phase. When she sucks you in and she does the button prompt, you want to hit that as fast as possible and get away from her, because that attack does a bunch of damage. When she sucks you all in and pushes you off of the PvP, run into that corner that we always put our square in, our marker, and PvP each other over there. Have one person PvP the group, and then have that group PvP that one person. That's the best way to get out of that PvP phase. This is where the PvP defense boots come in handy, or whatever you guys have, defense shoulders. Just use even one of those would help a lot. I mean, right here you see we don't use anything and we do okay, but the PvP defense I'm sure would help. And like I said, if you're using Whirlwind in this section like I am now, that helps a bunch. I can Whirlwind and then I can just leap on them if I need to. As you can see, I'm just doing regular attacks. And this is where you're going to be potting for the most part. You're going to be using your pots in this section because you're going to be attacking each other. There's no way out of it. So with that being said, that's Kernixia, and it's not a very hard dungeon as long as you communicate well with your teammates. It's not hard. I highly suggest not pugging this. I could only see this being as extremely difficult pugging this. So we're going to let this run through. You guys can watch the rest of the video, and then we'll talk, shop after this fight has ended. So one last thing I want to mention to you guys for Kernixia is if you do not make it out of that charm phase, if you do not uncharm your teammates during the PvP basically phase, she'll wipe you. So you want to make sure that everyone's hearts are gone before she ends that phase, or it will kill you. So that's Kernixia, guys. I mean, ultimately the dungeon's not that tough as long as you know the mechanics and you take your time. I hope this helped you out a lot. I appreciate you guys, looking at the video, and subscribe if you guys want to see any future content. Once again, I appreciate you all, and everyone have a good one. One final shout out to the best guildies I've ever had the pleasure of running my dungeons with. It's out to Noor and Pure, Vocals, the lead singer of Whiskey and the Wolves. Check him out on Spotify. Taraka, and of course, Super Duper 2. Thanks, guys. I always appreciate the runs to the dungeons.